friends, my name is Madeline and welcome back to my channel, Cozy Cottage Chapters, and happy Mother's Day. Assuming everything goes to plan, this video should be live on Mother's Day, and I thought it would be just a really fun time to talk about some of my favorite literary mothers, my favorite mother characters in books. Surprisingly, this was a little bit hard to come up with this list. I scrolled through my Goodreads for the past couple of years and realized just how common it is for mother characters to not be portrayed very well. Not necessarily evil or bad, just as very flawed, either kind of flawed or just not very present at all, especially in middle grade books. I realized that a lot of these moms, they're maybe not bad, they're maybe a good mom, have a lot of good qualities, they're just like not very present for some reason throughout most of the book. And I get it, like the story is focusing on the children, but at the same time, it was really hard to come up with a list of good moms. So this list is shorter than maybe I would like it to be. If you have some books to recommend of mother characters who are really excellent, let me know, because I would like to develop this list, make it a bit longer. All right, let's jump into it. First up, I have probably the most obvious pick, and that is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. This is a very obvious pick for me because I love Little Women. It is among my most favorite books. It's very hard to say what is my favorite book, but Little Women definitely is up there, top 5, easily. If you're not familiar with this story, this is the story of 4 sisters who were all older, kind of mid to late teen years. And their mother is Marmee, and their father is away fighting. Father is away at war, and so it's just the mother and these daughters. The relationship Marmee has with each of her daughters, and the way she is able to kind of guide them through this transition into adulthood is so beautiful. She has so much wisdom and so much compassion for her daughters. Like, she understands the seriousness of something that seems very silly on the outside, but she realizes that that is so serious to these girls, and she never talks down to them, but she just really is able to give good motherly advice without kind of making the struggles of her children feel too simple or too silly. He agrees with me. And yeah, like I said, I love Marmee so much. She is just such a wonderful character. Honestly, I wish you would see more of her in Little Women. I will say there is a historical fiction imagining or like retelling of Little Women through Marmee's perspective. It's called Marmee, and I haven't read it yet, but I've heard really good things, and that is definitely a book I would like to get to. All right, next up is another physical one I have to recommend, and this is technically the 3rd book in a trilogy, or I guess it's like one book broken up into 3 volumes. It's Kristin Lavransdater by Sigurd Undset. I've talked about this book a number of times, and I've talked about Kristin, and she is such an interesting mother character to read about. And that is because she is definitely a very, very flawed character. There's no mistake. Kristin makes a lot of mistakes throughout the books. But what I love is that you see with each child that she has, I want to say 10 children, but I'm not sure about that. She has a lot of children, and with each child, you kind of see her being reborn in a sense. Also, you see her becoming better and striving to be a better mother, a better wife, a better person. And it's just this really beautiful kind of reflection about how motherhood can change you, which I think is so true. You could see her at the very beginning, how selfish she is, and then you see as she starts becoming a mother and as she's having all of these children, you see her becoming much less selfish, and you see her just really, really changing and evolving and growing. And I think that is such a beautiful testament to motherhood. So as much as Kristin could kind of drive me insane in her poor decision-making moments, I think that part of the story is just what really impacts me the most and makes this a story I love so much. is that you see this character growth that happens from motherhood. This next book I have to recommend, I technically have not finished yet, and it feels a little bold to recommend a book that you're only 30% of the way through, but I know this is going to be a 5-star book and a book I just absolutely love, and that is The Young Stepmother by Charlotte Mary Yonge. I just love Albinia so much. This story is exactly what it sounds like. We're following Albinia, who is in her mid to late 20s. She's quite young. She marries this older man, and he has 3 children who are like 12, 13, and 14 or something like that. And so Albinia is not that much older than these children, who she is now their stepmother. And she comes into this house that is just filled with grief. There have been a number of people who've passed away in the family, and everyone, including her new husband, is just really, really dealing with this grief. And she is trying to connect to the kids. She's trying to help them deal with this grief. And it's just such a beautiful story of this woman who is really, really devoted to her role as a stepmother to these children, and takes it so seriously and is so loving and compassionate and just doing absolutely everything she can for these kids. And it's just absolutely, absolutely beautiful. I highly, highly recommend it. I don't know this character's name. I don't know if she's like exclusively referred to as like mom, or if she has a name that we find out, but I'm talking about The Mother in Emily's Wild Imagination by Beverly Cleary. This book is so delightful. We have this relationship between Emily and her mom, and Emily wants to get a town library. She, I think, gets a letter from her cousin who's talking about going to the library, and she's like, that sounds amazing. And despite the fact that she lives in a very rural community, she's determined that they're going to get a library also. And her mom is like, okay, I'll help you. Like, she never doubts Emily. She's never like, no, that's a terrible idea for all of these reasons that seem totally impossible. She's like, I'll help you get that started. And together they work on getting their town a library. And I love that confidence that she has in her kid, that this would be a good thing, not only for Emily, but for all of these other people in their community. And instead of saying like, oh, it's just too hard, like there's too many hurdles we would have to jump through, she helps make that happen. And it's just such a beautiful story. I think so often kids have really amazing ideas, and adults in their life can kind of squash it or say that's not really reasonable, we can't actually do that. And instead of that happening, Emily's mom just jumps in and decides to help her daughter make this happen. And it's just such a beautiful story. There's so much whimsy and sweetness in it, and I just really, really love that mother-daughter bond and relationship in particular. Now, I totally have this book. I just forgot to grab it upstairs, and like, we're on a roll here, so I don't really want to go get it. And that is Anne of Green Gables, and I'm talking about the motherly figure of Marilla. Now, she isn't Anne's mother, and I don't think that she like actually formally adopts Anne. I could be mistaken. I might be mistaken about that. But anyway, she is a very motherly figure to Anne. And here we have another character who like does not get off to a great start. In fact, she doesn't want to keep Anne when a mistake happens and Anne shows up at their doorstep. She thought they were getting a boy. Anne is a girl. And so she's like, no, we shouldn't keep her. And so like they don't get off to a great start at all. Slowly over time, you see kind of her begin to warm up to Anne and just really start to love her and care about her. And over the subsequent books in the series, we get to kind of see how their relationship unfolds. And it's just a really, really beautiful story. Again, about kind of how a child can change you, can bring out a different side of you, a better side of you. Despite all her flaws, I really do love Marilla, and I love that she was able to change and become the person that Anne needed. And again, these stories are just so beautiful, full of a ton of whimsy, and If you have not read Anne, or if you've read Anne of Green Gables but have not continued the rest of the series, you really should, because you do get to see some really beautiful moments between Anne and Marilla as the series goes on. Next up, and this is kind of like a wild recommendation in terms of this prompt, but like bear with me, I think this makes sense. And I'm talking about the 101 Dalmatians by Dottie Smith. He has so much to say. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, when I'm recording, he's the most chatty. Like, he hardly talks at all, but when I'm recording, he has so much to say. Yeah. Anyway, I'm talking about Mrs. Pongo. Does she have a name, or does she always go by Mrs. Pongo? The mother character of all of these Dalmatians. And I feel like everyone kind of knows the story of the 101 Dalmatians because of the Disney movie, so I don't want to say too much. The book is absolutely hilarious though, and we have a mother character who literally will go anywhere to rescue her babies. And I mean, like, that is the best. I mean, like, that is some inspirational motherhood right there. She will do whatever it takes to get her babies back. And the book, like I said, is absolutely hilarious. It is so well written. I was not expecting that when I was listening to it. I just enjoyed it so much. I would highly, highly recommend, if you haven't read the book, to do so. And finally, we're gonna end on another, like, kind of obvious pick. Allergies are the worst. Sorry. That is Mrs. Weasley from the Harry Potter series. Obviously, she is an amazing mother. She will do absolutely anything for her children. And she also just really welcomes Harry as if he were her own child, and is just so wonderful to him. And I love Mrs. Weasley so much. In fact, this makes me want to reread this series. I read up to I think The Prisoner of Azkaban when I was a kid, and then it wasn't until, like, as an adult that I read through the whole series start to finish again. And it's been a while now. Like, it's probably been close to 10 years, so I think I should reread it. I think I've convinced myself, in the spirit of this video, in the spirit of Mrs. Weasley, to reread Harry Potter. So that might be something to do. Anyway, that's it for my list of some favorite mother characters in literature. Like I said, this list is much shorter than I would like it to be, so feel free to share some of your favorite moms from books. And this guy needs a little playtime. So I will see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.